Hey everybody, welcome to Mile High Homeschool. If you're new here, my name is Megan. I'm a second generation homeschooler and I like to make videos about homeschooling and homemaking that are hopefully encouraging to you. And this week I wanted to talk about homeschool conferences and why I like them so much and why I think you guys should go. So that was just a little taste of what homeschool conferences are like. And one thing I need you to realize is that it is basically impossible to try to pack 4 days into a minute and a half. So those are just a couple of really short clips because to be honest, I forgot to film the whole time and couldn't make it to 100% of the things. But I want to give you guys an idea of what it's like because I'm a person that I like to plan ahead and kind of have a picture of what I'm going into. But also I wanted to kind of talk about some finer points of why you should go, what you can expect, what you'll find there, who you can expect to see, that kind of thing, and maybe some ways to make it work out for you. So just to start off with, kind of my mentality with homeschool conferences is that this is like my job training. So my husband works currently as a Salesforce administrator, and before that he worked as an athletic trainer. And for both of those professions, you kind of have to do the continuing education thing. And so as an athletic trainer, he would have to spend thousands of dollars on getting extra credits and going to these conferences and stuff that were like never in state. And it was very expensive. And even as a Salesforce administrator, like he has had to get different certifications for that. And like you continue to do like progressing education in that and that kind of thing. Thankfully, a lot of his jobs have paid for those, but still like that's something that you do. It's a very common thing in professions to continue your education in that profession. And usually those cost like thousands of dollars to be able to continue your education in that. And so for me, I view our homeschool conference as like my job training. It's my once a year continuing education that I do as a homeschool teacher. So why wouldn't I take that seriously and go ahead and go to that? You also get filled up. Like you're going to be encouraged. You're going to be strengthened. Your backbone's going to be stiffened. Like a lot of times I can go into these conferences just like totally parched and I feel so dry and I just get so filled up and encouraged, and it's so wonderful, such a good environment to be in. One great part about conferences too is that you realize you're not the only homeschooler out there. If you don't have a strong homeschooling community around you, or maybe you're the only one in your family or that kind of thing, and you just don't really have a lot of homeschooling friends, or maybe there's not a lot of people in your community that do that, going to a homeschool conference is such a great way to be like, hey, I am around maybe hundreds, maybe thousands of other people, like ours had thousands of people at it, that are all homeschoolers and that are doing the same thing I'm doing. Maybe not the exact same way, maybe not the exact same curriculum, but they're all doing this for their kids. I'm not the only one out there, which can be really helpful because homeschooling can be kind of a lonely road for you to walk sometimes as a parent. So one thing about homeschool conferences that I really like, that I try to explain to people, is that it's a really focused time and it's a time to focus. And I realize that sounds like kind of the same thing, but what I mean by that is that it's going to be a focused, concentrated time that's just about homeschooling and parenting. And so there's going to be a ton of information there, a ton of stuff for you to like really just pick up on and really be able to eliminate a lot of distractions so you can get all that info that you need and all that inspiration that you need. But also it's a time for you as a homeschooling parent to focus on your homeschool, to focus on your parenting, to focus on your child's educational needs, what you need as a parent, and really just dig into it. When like the rest of life, let's be real, like Monday through Friday, on the weekends, you've got life going on, you've got work going on, you've got church, family events, all this stuff. And a conference is a way for you to unplug from all that and really just focus in on this one topic, which is really cool. Lastly, I know you're thinking, well, Megan, I was at a homeschool conference once, like 5 years ago. I don't need to go again. I don't need that rah-rah. Like, I've got my commitment. I've got my why. Like, I know what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing this stuff for my kids. That's great, but you've also never mothered or taught these specific children in this specific year at these specific grades before. Like, I realize you've always been mom to those kids, but you've never been mom to this particular kid at this particular moment. Like, my daughter just turned 7. She's only going to be 7 for 1 year. I've never been a mother of a 7-year-old before. Like, and even when my boys both turned 7, like, I will have never been a mother of that 7-year-old before. And so it's important for me to continue to go and get that training and to get that time to build myself up in that area, if that makes sense. So some of the what of the things you're going to get at a conference, you're going to get really practical tips and strategies that you can apply like tonight. I think a lot of times it's really easy to be like, I'm going to read this parenting book, or I'm going to read this homeschooling book, or listen to this podcast. And it's very like pie in the sky kind of stuff. And then you're trying to come up with a way to strategize it, to fix it into your life in the midst of everything else and laundry and meal planning and all the other things that you're juggling at the same time. Whereas when you're at a conference like this, a lot of times there's really practical things of like, you can ask these questions. If you hear your kids say this, dig deeper with this. Like, it's very practical, hands-on things that you can apply at the dinner table tonight. You also just don't know what you don't know. And so there are a lot of options out there in the homeschooling world. And until you go and are exposed to those options, you don't really realize how narrow your field is. And like I said before, you've never been mom to these particular kids before, so you don't know what you need to know for those children. And so it's very helpful to go to these, because a lot of times your blind spots can be revealed to you and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I was doing that. I should change this, or maybe we should try this, or we should tweak this area. Not to mention the fact that there's tons of curriculum and like resources and stuff there at the conference. The particular conference that I went to had 3 different vendor halls that I could go in and explore. And I love it because it's like hands-on with the curriculum. So like I can see how big the line is for the cursive workbook, or like I can see what the illustrations are like for every single page through the math thing. And so I like it because it's very hands-on. It's a great way, with everything being digital and everything online, and we order some online, to actually be like, I want to know, I want to hold the curriculum book and feel what it's like. And this is a way to get to do that, which is really cool. Not to mention there's a lot of kind of intangible resources that you can get there that are just cool opportunities. So like for me, I actually walked away with 3 new books, 2 of which were gifts to me from people, which was really cool. Like they were just like, hey, we want to give this to you. Or I know I've mentioned before that my youngest is hard of hearing. And so I was able to connect with one of the speakers there who was talking about kids with learning differences and that kind of stuff. And I was just like, hey, I couldn't make it to your seminar, but this is my son's story. Like, how can I help him? Do you have resources that I should dig into? That kind of thing. Places I should go, people I could talk to. She gave me one of her books. She gave me websites that I could go to and look things up on. She told me, she connected with me on Facebook and was like, remind me to connect you with this other couple that I know that homeschools and is hard of hearing and deaf kids and that kind of thing. And they can be a resource to you. Oh, and go ask these people because they'll have things for you as well. And so it was great because I was able to have a 10-minute conversation and walk away with way more stuff for my son than I had when I first went into it that day. As far as who is going to be at homeschooling conferences, I mean, yeah, you're going to see other moms and families and that kind of thing. And you might have friends there. Like one of my sister-in-laws was there, which was really cool. Some of my friends that I grew up with as kids, they were there. Some of my best friends now from here in Colorado were there. Like it was really fun. There was lots of people that I knew, but even just, I went every day by myself, not expecting to be with other people. So that was fine with me. If they were there, they weren't there, it was cool. As far as like people who are there, there's Todd Wilson, who, like I've talked about before, he's got Family Man Ministries and the Smiling Homeschooler podcast. He was there. He was one of the speakers. I got to go say hey to him and be like, thanks for your podcast. I love it. Like that kind of thing. That was really cool. Will and Miki Addison, Kathy Cook, Heidi St. John, George Barna from the Barna Group, the author Chuck Black, who's written a ton of middle grade, young adult fiction books that are hugely popular. Julie Ross from A Gentle Feast, she was there. It was crazy. I don't know why her booth wasn't busier, but like it was like just this perfect pocket of time where I was able to sit and talk with her about her curriculum and about what I wanted to use it for and that kind of thing. and just like have a conversation with the lady who made a curriculum that I have fangirled over for ages. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So you can actually like meet and have conversations with these people. It's not just like, oh, they're so far away. Like I heard Miki Addison say something about how they talk to their kids about things that like totally changed my perspective. And it was like a 2-minute conversation after her and her husband had talked, which was so cool. Not to mention, like at our conference, it was really cool because they did an early screening of the new movie, The Forge, that by the Kendrick brothers, that's coming out in August. They had it on Saturday night, like at our conference, which was so cool. And so it's like, you get really cool access to things that you normally wouldn't get to. You get tons of resources. Like I found a bunch of new podcasts and stuff to follow for me, just to like encourage me, which I was really excited about. Now, I know a lot of you might be thinking, well, Megan, this is great. That sounds wonderful. I already missed my conference this month or this year, or we could never afford that, or who's going to watch my kids? I like, you don't understand my challenge. Because I will say I was very blessed in the fact that my husband was willing to take PTO for the days that I went to the conference so he could watch the kids and take care of them. And I could go and just like have the time to myself, completely distraction free, not worrying about kids or meals or anything, and just like be there to soak it all in. I realize not everybody has that luxury. However, that just because you don't have the ideal situation of something like that doesn't mean you can't make it happen. So maybe try babysitting with a mom in your church. Like she wants to go to the homeschool conference, or maybe she doesn't want to go to the homeschool conference. Maybe she doesn't even homeschool, but she and her husband would like to have date nights and you trust her to watch your kids. Okay, just talk to her about it and be like, hey, I will babysit your kids one night a month from now till next summer. And then next summer, can you watch my kids for these 3 days while I go to this homeschool conference? Like you'll give her free babysitting for a year if she'll give you a weekend away. Like you can do that. I've done that with moms before. Maybe do a garage sale so you have money for the ticket, or sell old curriculum that you have that you're not going to use anymore. Like, hey, we had this, we tried it, it didn't work. Resell it. You can do that. It's okay. Just get creative because it's going to be worth doing what you need to be there. Even like tell your husband, babe, I want tickets to our homeschool conference for Christmas this year. Like that's what I want. I don't want another sock or a sweater or a cute coffee mug. Like I want to go to our homeschool conference to get filled up. Would you be willing to pay for my ticket as that? Or maybe your situation is that you're like, Megan, you don't understand. There are not homeschool conferences by me. There's no homeschool conference in my state, in the states next to us. Like it would be a 4-hour plane ride or a 15-hour drive for me to get to one. And like, I get it because the last time I was at a conference, I sat down and talked with some moms that had driven down to Denver from Montana to come to a homeschool conference because this was the closest one for them. So I get it. Like there are places where there are not homeschool conferences. However, there are online conferences that you can attend. So one group I know, it's called, I want to say it's called Homeschool Summits. I will put the link in the description box down below. But they do like mini conferences online, and it's all through like online interviews and podcasts, and they do a great job facilitating those, and you can buy recordings of them. It's awesome. And they have them on all different topics all throughout the year. If you're busy that weekend, you can get like a replay option. So there's options for that too. So maybe you just say, hey babe, I would like to have a weekend at home where I can lock myself in the guest room and watch this on my laptop and take notes. And you do that. Like it's worth doing that to pour into yourself as a homeschool mom. So I want you to know conferences are incredible. I know I've talked about them a ton in the past. I will continue to talk about them because they are awesome. So, and one thing I will say about conferences, because I had a conversation with a mom a couple of days before I left and we were at a play date and she was like, oh, well, I just don't want to go to it because it's associated with such and such a person. And I just have problems with their viewpoints on things. And so because this one person was going to be speaking in a time slot at the conference, she wrote off the entire 4 days and didn't want to go, which that's her choice. And I'm not going to say what her experience was. It sounded very valid. And so I'm not saying that she didn't have a good reason to go. But for me, I always use it as kind of a grocery store approach in that I'm going to go, I'm going to take what I need. I'm going to be nourished by it. I'm going to let it help me, but I'm not going to be mad at the stuff that I left on the shelf. Like just because I went and got rice noodles doesn't mean I'm mad at the regular like Barilla pasta that's there. It's like, nope, I'm just going to take what I need and leave the rest and ignore it. And that's fine. Like I don't need to take all of it. And the way that this conference is set up, like you couldn't take in all of it unless you bought all of the recordings, kind of a thing. So I definitely say go, take what you need, leave what you don't. It's gonna be helpful, it's gonna be nourishing, it's gonna be refreshing, it's gonna feel like drinking out of a fire hose probably. But I promise you it's gonna be one of the highlights of your year and help fill you up so much for going into your next school year. So hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see you next time. And I would love to hear below what some of your experiences have been at homeschool conferences. Do you have one nearby? Have you been before? Are you planning on going? Let me know what your favorite tips and tricks are for them, and we'll catch you next time.